Please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Christian Chua. Christian is more than a motivational speaker. He's a mindset shifter. With over 30 years of experience, he's empowered thousands of across Singapore and beyond to think sharper, act braver, and live better. His work truly captures the SG60 spirit, which is resilient, relevant, and forward focused. A true son of the nation, Christian has dedicated his adult life to advancing Singapore human capital. And today, he'll speak on critical thinking skills for leaders creating brilliant minds. Christian, the screen is yours.
Thank you, everyone. And so happy to be the kickoff speaker. So just before I show my slide, at least you get a big visual of what I look like. So here I am. Can you see my slides? Give me a thumbs up. Cool. I will not go into much detail on who I am. I'll talk about that at the end. Right now, we'll talk about what I am going to share today. And as you know, this is about what we as trainers do, and one topic that we would like to share. And perhaps if you find it useful, you might like to dwell deeper into it. And I chose critical thinking skills and decision making skills because I think in our context, we are just so lack of it. And when we disagree with some of the policies that we see out there, could be in our environment or in our corporation, we roll our eyes and say, why didn't they do it differently? So I'm going to bring you through this 15 minutes on how you could actually create smarter leaders. And in that, different sense, you could create all better and smarter employees too. Why critical thinking skill matters? Because do you not want to have workers and employees and team players that can think on their feet, making good discretionary decisions, and if possible, make a near perfect decision. And if you can achieve that, you will definitely increase productivity and reduce costly mistakes. So sometimes you're just wondering, why did the guy make that decision that cost us so much? If they're put through a little exercise and training, they definitely can increase their decision-making skills. As you know, a wrong decision could really escalate a minor issue into a major crisis. Um, a company could close down, business could go out of business can go out of business. I don't even know what word to use. And you see big companies closing down. You can trace it back all the way back to Sears. What went right, what went wrong. Recently in Singapore, Cathay Cineplex closed down. Privé Restaurant Group closed down. Where were the critical wrong decisions that were made? And even in your corporate sense, um, certain decisions that you make could affect the morale of an employee. In the light of the recent national unrest in Nepal, if I could so gently say it, or some unrest in Indonesia, what actually went right? What actually went wrong? Why that some decisions at the top leadership level was made, and then such turmoil happened. So we're going to talk about all that. Let's bring it down to a corporate level. And who are the clients that have benefited from a training like this? So I'm going to slow down a little bit so you understand. In our public programs, I have tons and tons of law enforcement, namely from the Singapore Police Force, because these officers need to make split second decisions, whether to to pull the trigger, whether to use a taser, whether to escalate, whether to de-escalate, whether to use force. So we go through lots of scenarios, and I don't tell them what to do. I teach them how to think, how to consider all the parameters before you make a decision. Because very often, even you and I would make decisions and we're triggered through biasness because we are involved, maybe racially, ethnically, maybe in terms of our religion, we are affected. How can we be unbiased in all situations and make the best possible decisions? So when we talk about law enforcement, I also have people like from the immigration, from the customs, and from the Singapore prison, the wardens. They have to make split second decisions. Um, in the very challenging scenarios in the course of work. Okay, so we teach them how to think on their feet. And when we talk about leadership, and this is so important. When we talk about topics, companies like Starbucks, and right now they have been cannibalized very badly by another big player called Luckin Coffee from China. So when we compare this, where did they go right and where did they go wrong? Starbucks has always been a lifestyle coffee establishment. So when you think about having a meeting, you say, let's go to Starbucks. Here comes Luckin Coffee with no fancy outlets, and they say, let's take the takeaway business from Starbucks. So now if you want to take 6 packs of coffee, you go to Luckin Coffee because it's a lot cheaper. So from that, the business was badly cannibalized. They had a CEO from McKinsey. His name was Laxman Nara, and from the time he took over Starbucks, Starbucks had a market cap of 120 billion. By the time they fired him, Starbucks was reduced to 70 billion. So the right and wrong decisions that people make can cause a huge market cap destruction, and that's at the CEO level. So what did Starbucks do? They immediately hired Brian Nicole from Chipotle, and he had made fantastic turnarounds for many companies. The moment they hired him, even before he started work, on the first day, the market cap shot up by 20 billion. Why? Because the investors were so confident that with this guy, he could make new and fresh and right decisions into turning the company around. So that's what we mean in terms of leadership. It isn't about having that authoritarian figure, but the value in leadership actually comes from making good calls most of the time, if not all the time. Most of the time, they make very good calls. Now, another group of people that benefits from this program is actually the rank and file, the foot soldiers, the sales guys, the operation guys, the customer service guys, because they need to be trained how to handle the customer. Is the customer always right? Should we always give in? Should we always compensate? When do we become assertive? And when do we say, no, we don't want you as a customer? So these things are so critical because some small trigger could escalate into a social media disaster for a company. And even with that, the whole company can be completely be decimated. And of course, another group of people that would love to learn how to make good decisions are HR. When you have certain new policies you want to roll out, what's good, what's not good, what's the optimal, and people make a mistake that any decision could be used for any situation, which is not true because there's a thing called situational awareness. It might work for your company, but it might not work for my company. It could work for your company in a certain country, and it might not work for your company in another part of the world. So when it comes to policy making, yeah, we go through a very stringent and interesting case study. So I'm going to slow this down and I'm going to give you one analogy so it'll be more fun. When we talk about compliant and discretionary decisions, let me make this. Let me bring up this hilarious example. Say it's in your home and you have a domestic helper, and me, sir, is going downstairs to buy something. And I tell the helper, sir is just going down for 15 minutes. Do not open the door for anyone for any reason. Do you understand me? And then the domestic helper said, yes, sir, I do. Now you go down. My mom appears, and my domestic helper is well familiar with my mom. And she says, sir says cannot open the door for everyone. So that's pure compliance. Or should she use discretion? I don't think sir meant you, so I opened the door. Now, this may sound very trivial and simple, but when we cascade it down to a corporate situation, this happens all the time. This is the SOP, the Standard Operation Procedure. When can we break the rules and when we should not break the rules? When should we make exceptions and when we should not? So we do this for traffic police, we do this for any other law enforcement also. Another part that we always talk about is sometimes the right decision isn't the best decision at that point, because we need to take consideration of the environment and how ready your organization or the social environment is ready to receive that right decision. So for all you listeners, here's a little teaser for you. I show this in class. Give you a moment to analyze what this is, where the problem is. Now, obviously, you can tell that the car wants to go in and his height limit seems to be over the stipulated height limit of 1.7, which is not true because that car is less than 1.7 meters. So the driver is right under perfectly in compliance. Now, the barrier was built at 1.7, which is nothing wrong with that. And they want to prevent the damage of the car park structure. So that again is a good intention. But where exactly is the problem? Now, problem lies in installing the barrier at the lowest point of the incline. So the height actually reduces by about 10 inches. Now, when the long base vehicle hangs on the two highest point of the slope, the car cannot get through the barrier. So in class, I asked this question: who's in the right, who's in the wrong? Who compensates for who? Is it the driver's fault or is it the car park planner's fault? Now, in class, you have two diverse or three diverse viewpoints, and you know there's only one right answer. The groups that get the wrong answer actually starts to grow and say, oh my God, it's because I didn't consider this factor or that factor that I made a wrong judgment call. And that is how they benefit from it. But this is not all. I personally visited the place 2 years later. And you know what? The barrier is still there. I am mind blast because, you know this thing has happened. You know there is some legal implications on this, and yet this was never rectified. How many of you can actually relate to me that sometimes in your company something happened, but no one actually looked into it and say, hey, how can we actually improve the system so that this problem doesn't reoccur again? Okay. So in this program, your staff, your leaders will learn how to reduce firefighting, execute wise, probably close to perfect decision to solve problems quickly, make smart business decision. Will a new idea work? And of course, to minimize angry customers and minimize angry users. Some of the frameworks we teach them is to have situational awareness. How do you behave differently in different situations in front of different crowds? How severe is the issue? Say someone in your organization steals some stationery. Do you suddenly buy 100 CCTVs and install in your company? Does the cost actually justify it? Is that response appropriate? What about the moral and the morale of the employees after putting 100 CCTVs? Did you consider all this? So that's generally what we're going to help your leaders as well as your operational staff to make decisions. And they find it very hard to make. I've run this program maybe more than 50 times. And in class, at least in the first quarter and second quarter of the day, they find it so difficult to make decisions for simple reasons. Generally, Singapore is a very compliant society, so they have a compliant mentality. Number two, they fear of backlash. This could cost me my job. But most importantly, they're untrained to make executive decisions. But if you want to climb up the corporate ladder, it is not about the energy and the output that you put in, but it's about making good discretionary judgments. So I'm going to leave you with three teasers and you think in your corporate level. If you had an attack on social media on your business, what is the best way you can respond to that attack to prevent a social media disaster? To what extent should your managers be held accountable for the mistakes or crime of your subordinates? The world is split on this, but how would your organization view this and what stand do they take? And also, we're going to talk about things like Employee of the Month. Oh, that's great. It's very motivating, but it's also very demoralizing for those who feel that they should be Employee of the Month, but they've never got it for after 2 years. So these are what we mean by situational awareness about the moral and the morale of the people. On the right of your screen is a QR code, and if you scan it, you are able to reach me. And for the next 3 slides, the QR code will be there as I continue to speak, so I will not have a awkward pause. But these are a few of the testimonials that came in this year from Singapore Institute of Technology non-teaching staff. The head of finance who hired me said, "You got us glued from start to finish with this very mesmerizing topic." And 2 directors from Tokyo Electronics came in the program and they said, "You completely illuminated our minds." And then he gave me 8 runs to make sure all his engineers go through this program. My most recent gig was about 2 weeks ago with the Lego Singapore, 7 of the top regional leaders. I thought it was very, very insightful, and said it was one of the best programs. And of course, I speak a lot at the insurance industry, and they were quite captivated by it. Okay, so now a little bit about myself to give you a bit of credential. That's me on the extreme left, and I'm the go-to guy for my opinions. This is the 2016 election of US between Trump and Hillary, and this was watched by more than 52 million people. I was a media cop. And as you know, the history, Trump won, and Singapore invited him to meet him at a capella in Singapore. That's the center picture. And during that meeting, I was on more than 8 international medias. On the left, Australian 7. On your top center, that's BBC. On your top right, that's Thomson Reuters. And the local medias like Lianhe Zaobao, Wanbao, Straits Times, and so on. So just to give you a bit of credibility on the quality that I'll bring to the table. So with that, thank you so much. Let me give me a second to check if I have any question and answers. Moderator, can you